Hey, what's going on, everybody? How's it going? Thursday afternoon special edition? We had to move a show from earlier in the week, so sure, why not? Special edition episode of Gorilla Sports Off Ice. I'm Jesse Montano. I'm going to be joined by Megan Angley in just a moment, but I do want to remind you guys about our great friends over at Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get a better interest rate and lower your monthly payment. Go to trustedamerican.com right now to see how much money they can help you start saving today. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hello, everybody. Thursday afternoon, Gorilla Sports Off Ice. Normally our Monday show, but the studio is filled up Monday, Tuesday. We had some scheduling conflicts yesterday, so we are back at it today. We'll have another show for you tomorrow. Busy hockey weekend in Colorado. I'm Jesse Montano. She is Megan Angley. Megan, we were all over the state today talking hockey. I was up north with Chloe in Loveland visiting the Eagles. You were down at morning skate with Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's a good thing we are doing this show Thursday. We were just waiting for the Avs to announce Gabriel Landeskog's conditioning stint so that we can talk about it on Off Ice.
That's right. That was the scheduling conflict. Like, well, I'm sure this is going to happen.
Yeah, they just haven't announced it yet.
Right,
so
right.
We'll wait.
But as Megan just said, the Avs have officially loaned Gabe Landeskog to the Colorado Eagles on a conditioning assignment. We're going to talk a lot about that today, what to expect. Not only out of the game in the league and things like that, but where to maybe level set your expectations for Gabe Landeskog. And then you and I are also going to take a quick preview at these last three games here, what to look for out of the Avs, what they're dealing with in terms of injuries, guys resting, why maybe there might be more guys resting than you would, or taking the night off because of minor injury than you would normally expect. And then I do want to talk a tiny bit about Trent Miner as well. Just because Ovechkin, you guys talked a little bit about it the other day on P&P. We talked to him today and just got a little bit more insight from him. And I just think that it's such a cool little thing. So I want to talk about Trent Miner for just a couple minutes near the end.
Okay, perfect. Well, if we're sharing things we want to talk about,
yes.
I also would like to
talk about Trent Miner.
And that's all I want to talk about for today's show. Just kidding.
Perfect.
I want to make sure we just check in on the Avs in the final games that remain in the season, kind of the current state of things. I think we'll touch on that with some of the injury updates too. A little, very brief preview of Avs Vancouver tonight.
Yes.
And I want to talk about the Frozen Four just briefly, just to say it's happening. I mean, it's happening in 12 minutes.
No, for real.
We'll just briefly make mention of it at the very end after we talk about Trent Miner.
After we talk about Trent Miner, let's not disrespect one of 28 goalies who didn't give up a goal against Alex Ovechkin. All right.
It's just old news for Pucks and Prosecco people because we're on top of it.
Oh man, you're so right. All right, well let's get right into what everyone is talking about. Really, Megan, this might be the biggest story in the hockey world right now. Gabriel Landeskog, June 26th, 2022 was the last professional hockey game that Gabe played in. Right now, it looks like we are poised to see that change this weekend. We speculated, we didn't know. He went up and took a morning skate just to stay fresh while his guys were out. The Avs. Gabriel Landeskog officially loaned to the Colorado Eagles for a conditioning assignment. That means up to 3 games without having to be activated off LTIR. But Eagles have 2 home games this weekend before heading out on the road for the rest of their regular season schedule. So my guess is that we only see 2 games. I don't think he'll go the full 3. I guess let's just start at the very, very top. Your initial reactions when you saw it. We had a hunch that this was going to happen. But when you see it officially come through that Gabriel Landeskog will be officially with the Eagles, what were kind of your initial thoughts, feelings, all of it?
It started to ramp up in terms of becoming realistic, what you were hearing behind the scenes. And so my reaction wasn't necessarily surprise because I'd started preparing for this possibility, and it makes a lot of sense. It does feel like the next step for Landeskog to return to game action if we're going to consider playoff hockey with the Avs. There's a really high expectation that's been set in terms of what players need to be doing on a nightly basis, and he hasn't played hockey in 1,020 days. So expecting him to play tomorrow, 1,021 days, it will be. It's a long time and a lot of hockey missed, and getting game action, again, it can't be replicated in practice. This is so important for him to get a feel for game speed and also evaluate where he's at, how he's feeling after playing a full 60-minute hockey game.
And I think that's the part that I want to dig into the most. Is this really does feel to me like it is something that is about how do you feel? Where's your strength at? Where's your conditioning at? And, I can even say for me, 80,000 levels below where Gabe Landeskog is trying to come back in at. When I go even a few weeks in between playing a game, let alone, months or whatever like that, years, you jump back into a game and hockey shape is just different. You use every muscle in your body and just takes, it just takes a lot out of you. So I think there is a lot of this that's him gauging, how do I feel? Where am I at? What does it feel like after not just a 45-second shift, but then another shift and then another shift and then, okay, intermission, now recover and get back out there and, stopping and starting, unpredictability, but also his strength. I know he spent a lot of time in the gym building that back up, but where are you at strength-wise? Just how do you feel after playing in a 60-minute hockey game for 12 to 15 minutes?
And how do you feel the next day?
Yes.
I think having the week break between the Avs starting the playoffs, it's good for him to get in these games. One, they're the final home games for the Eagles. And there's a little bit of time in between then that he can use this information to make other decisions, like what kind of recovery makes the most sense for him after a game. How is he feeling the next day? Does he play both nights? That is a genuine question. I'm not expecting that, but I'd be curious to see that if it happened.
There's so much that goes into it other than just, all right, well, he played in a game, he's good to go. It's like you said, this weekend, whether he plays in one or both or whatever, was, that's not what I meant. It's going to determine how he makes those decisions in the future, like you just said. And I think that's an important part of it. And something that I want to get into is the reputation that the league has and people being worried that this is going to result in an injury, guys taking runs at him, things like that. And I want to first start by saying, and you and I have talked about this on off air. And then in a video that we put together a couple days ago when the conditioning stint was announced, I'm not of the opinion that if the Avs were worried, the Avs, the medical staff, his people, the Avs doctors, if anybody was like, hey, we can go through all this at practice, but getting into a game, if someone hits him wrong, the knee's done. If that's where we were at, we wouldn't even be talking about a prospective comeback into the NHL. It would be, he's done. He can't take contact. Any bit of wrong contact and the knee's done, won't be able to, walk ever again. If we were at that point, this wouldn't be happening. They wouldn't be putting him in AHL games. They wouldn't even be trying to get him back for NHL games. But I want you to be the one to talk about this a little bit to start. The reputation that the American League has, maybe justified at one point, but it's just really not the only, all rough and tumble league that people maybe make it out to be.
It is referred to as the jungle or a meat grinder. I refer to it as the wild, wild west. It's not some lawless land where anything goes, just a little bit more than you might see at the NHL level. And it's little things away from the play, after whistles. You see guys maybe throw an elbow they shouldn't. And the expectation for the players is different because they're trying to prove that they belong at the next level up. And so you've got prospects just entering the league with a lack of experience. You've got veterans who might be pretty sure about their station in hockey at that point. And then you've got the fringe players that are on the doorstep of graduating to the NHL and trying to prove that they belong there. And so there are guys who are going out of their way to prove something. But I think it is turned more towards skill. You look at the work-based things that players need to do to earn a full-time job at the NHL level, and there's an emphasis on that, but it's not chippy stuff away from the play that's going to earn them an NHL call-up.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a highly skilled player and you have to dig in, and so it can be taxing on the body. You might have to sacrifice the body to block a shot and be that hero every second of the game because it's what's going to separate you from your peers. And I think all of those things work together to earn it that reputation of being a bit of a meat grinder, because players do have to sacrifice a lot just to get noticed, to graduate from one league to the next. But in a similar way, if you are a goon, and it's not in an effective way, we're looking at fighting in both leagues and how it's trending on the decline. I think you see more fighting in the American League than the National Hockey League, and a lot of that lends itself to proving that you are the type of player that will stand up for your teammates. But it's within the parameters of the sport. It's not bloodthirsty, head-hunting, cheap shots that I think people think of when they think of the American League. It's all within the confines of the game. And I look at the Barracuda series recently, people are pointing to Jacob McDonald as an example of this. And I think there's a recency bias there, because I've watched a lot of American League games and I found myself saying, this is getting out of hand. I actually feel, the more I sit on it, criticism of the officials not intervening in that game more, because it was clearly starting to get a little bit out of hand. And that was just in the Saturday game. This happened in the Friday night game, but there was this sense that the officials weren't maybe doing enough inside this series to get control over it. And I don't typically see that. And so I don't think that the injuries or the cheap shots are happening at the frequency that people believe them to be. It still might proportionately seem more than what you're seeing at the NHL level, because it is one skill level below.
Right.
And so there are going to be less experienced players that maybe conduct a hit a little bit weirdly. But on the whole, you've got a mix of skill levels and young players who make it out of that league unscathed, to include Bowen Byram when he went for his own conditioning stint with the Avs. And this was a fragile player with a serious concussion history.
I was going to say potentially even more sensitive injury history.
I want to highlight that, right? Like, the nature of what they're rehabbing from is so different. This is so different in context, but Byram's context of being a fragile player with concussion history, with what we know about the likelihood of sustaining another head injury after already having history of one, it makes it really risky then to have sent him to the American League for a conditioning stint. He gets in 2 games and they're very cautious about his utilization. They're not necessarily sheltering him in a way that wouldn't help him to get back up to game speed, but they pair him with Dennis Gilbert, a player that is willing to stand up for his teammates if he has to. And it's enough of a deterrent. Nothing weird happens, and he gets a good feel for game speed, gets his legs back under him. And if they trusted the Colorado Eagles and Bowen Byram in that situation, I think there's a lot of trust too, maybe more than we give it credit for, with the coaching staff on both sides, the medical team that's also helping to make these decisions around Landeskog doing this.
Well, and there's a couple things that I want to point out on top of what, you mentioned the refs. You felt like they were, maybe that game got a little bit out of control and the refs didn't do a good enough job to control it. There is going to be a message from the American Hockey League going into these sets of games this weekend. I mean, Megan, there are going to be eyeballs on the Colorado Eagles this weekend like never before.
We've seen those ticket prices.
You've seen the ticket prices, the number of media requests, the national media attention that's going to be on this game. This is the biggest name player to hit a conditioning stint like this, maybe since Zach Parise did it with the Minnesota Wild. And I think Gabe Landeskog, you could argue, is a more prominent name with a more prominent injury history. There's going to be a lot of attention on this. You better believe that the AHL is going to tell these refs, you better not let this game get out of control. We're going to have more people watching American Hockey League hockey this weekend than maybe we've had all season. this game needs to reflect well on the AHL.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if that conversation is going to be had with the teams, but like, if Gabe Landeskog is in a game this weekend, Aaron Schneekloth is going to have a conversation. Hey, don't run around looking for goonery. If anybody looks at this dude wrong, we're jumping in.
Yeah.
Like we've got his back. All 17 other guys have this guy's back tonight, both nights, whatever it ends up being.
And if Trent Miner starts in net, he will goalie fight.
He will goalie fight
on Landeskog's behalf if he needs to.
And so again, I do just think that there is going to be an extra air around this game, not only from the Eagles, but from the league as well, as it pertains to the refs, of like, don't let this game get out of control. Don't let this game, regardless of what Gabe Landeskog's involvement is, don't let this game reflect poorly on the league. Don't let it get out of control. Don't let it turn into just a brawl. And then the last thing I was going to say was I just went back and rewatched the Jacob McDonald hit. It's very accidental, in my opinion.
There's no way both of those players had this coordinated attack to clothesline in between their bodies.
Right.
It's very unfortunate, but it's not this calculated, dirty hit.
Right.
It's just a freak incident. I think of Bocage. He goes into the wall a bit weird a couple seasons back with another player, purely accidental, injures his neck, thankfully avoided worse injury, but it kept him out a long time. And people could be thinking of that at the back of their mind. Like, wow, that was a little bit scary. And it is, but those weird things happen in the sport of hockey, and they're not happening every game, and they can happen at any level. You're on ice with skates. It's a little bit weird. There's always risk.
And like, don't get me wrong, it looked like they were trying to lay a heavy hit on Jacob McDonald.
Saborin, as Vaguely Sober points out, one person is intentional with dirtiness. I talked about him on Pucks and Prosecco. He's in my burn book. He was dirty all series. He was instigating so much, and that's where I felt the refs did not have a good handle on this series. It was clear he was baiting anyone within spitting distance to annoy them, bother them, and it was just so needless.
And that's where I wanted to, the last point that I wanted to make was I just really, and I don't know, Megan, maybe people will listen to this and call me naive. I've been around this game for a long time. I know the level of respect that players have for one another. And this isn't like I didn't even know Gabe Landeskog was over there. I didn't even know he was on the other team. Everyone on Henderson's going to know he's out there. And as you and I have talked about, and I believe my memory serves me right, you guys even talked about it this week on P&P, that if you're going out there to intentionally take a dangerous run at Gabe Landeskog, I believe the phrase that you used, Megan, was reputation suicide. These are all guys trying to earn jobs at the next level. Going out and doing something stupid like that, again, with intention. I'm not saying guys aren't going to hit him, aren't going to be physical with him, but if you're intentionally taking swipes at him, that is stuff that's going to be noticed, and that's going to damage that could damage a player's reputation and hurt any chance they have of getting real looks down the road. So that's just not something that I am that concerned with.
Yeah, I don't even think you need to have NHL ambitions for that to matter. I think any pro team in North America won't want a player with poor character like that. It says a lot to take a run at a player like Landeskog, who is highly respected for who he is, his character on and off the ice.
Todd Bertuzzi was an Olympic level player, and he had a hard time sticking on teams after the Steve Moore incident. I know that's a long, long time ago now, but just to your point of like, you're saying like, you don't even need NHL ambitions. We've already seen a version of that play out before, where this is one of the top players in the league did something that clearly crossed a major line, and he ended up bouncing around a few different places after that.
Because there is an etiquette, right? And that injury happens, hard hits happen, but when you do something with intentionality, that's going to be different.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's pretty well documented just around hockey, the amount of respect that Gabe Landeskog has. People have heard the Sean Avery story before about how he's barking at Joe Sakic his rookie year. And I believe it was Steve Yzerman who told him, like,
you don't talk to Mr. Sakic.
You have not earned that right. Yeah. And so just Mr. Sakic. Like, that's the kind of stuff. I think Gabe Landeskog is kind of in that tier. So that's not something I'm not worried about anyone out there head hunting or knee hunting Gabe Landeskog this weekend.
No, and I am excited to see the series because Henderson is officially eliminated from playoff contention, so they don't necessarily have that chip on their shoulder to play for in the weekend series, but it's a team that I respect for their physicality. And so I don't think they're going to let up on Landeskog any more easily than they would another opponent. I think they'll play with caution, certainly, but I want to see how Landeskog holds up without the kid gloves, too. Like, I don't want him to be given any special treatment, and I don't think Henderson will. I think Landeskog wants to be truly tested as well.
So that's what I was going to... last part that I was going to say about the physicality and the reputation of the league. I think, to an extent, I think it's going to be good for him. There's a real world scenario here where the Avs make a run to the Cup finals and they're going to have to go through Dallas, Winnipeg, and Vegas. None of those teams are going to treat you nice. They're all going to play heavy. They're all going to play hard. They're going to be physical. And I think if Gabe Landeskog is truly, to the point that you made earlier, going through this process test to see how he feels, how his body responds, I actually think it's going to be good for him to get involved in some battles. My guess is, and this is just a guess based on the information that we have, and what we see from Gabe and the little bit that we're able to glean from the episodes that have come out in the documentary, I don't think he'd be doing this if he wasn't ready and able to get back into a game.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, Megan. Let's say he's in the lineup tomorrow, which we don't know for sure yet, right? But let's say he's in the lineup tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first one that goes out and lays a heavy hit. Just trying to, let's get in this game. Let's go. I haven't played in 3 years. Let's go. Let's get after it. And I'd be willing to bet that guys are cautious about hitting him at practice, but he's probably someone saying, come on, body me up. But put me in the wall a little bit. I gotta go through this. And guys are probably understandably a little nervous, but I'd be willing to bet he's looking forward to a little bit of the contact this weekend.
Yeah, and I think he's looking forward to genuinely trying to help the Eagles with their playoff ambitions. They are still first in the Pacific and Western Conference with a 3-point lead on the Abbey Canucks, but they both have 5 games left in the season, and whoever does secure that top seed in the Pacific gets a first-round bye. And I think the Eagles
talked about that today.
Would really appreciate having that path to the playoffs, and these final games that are left in the stretch, they matter for the Colorado Eagles, and they want to solidify the top of the division because they're a dominant team. And I think with Landeskog in the lineup, it's almost funny too. I've seen some memes, I'm sure Abbotsford's oh, great. We're trying to chase them down for the top spot in the division, and they just added Gabriel Landeskog.
Yeah.
How great for us with 5 games left in the season.
Well, and when I talked to Aaron Schneekloth this morning, he specifically called out, we want that bye.
Yeah.
It'd be good for us. So to your point, they're not coasting into this saying let the chips fall where they may. They want to win these games. They want to pick up these points. They understand the value in having that first round bye. But the other side of it, the value of having Gabe Landeskog around these guys.
Totally.
And we're going to have a video that'll come out here in a little bit because we talked to a handful of guys today up at the Eagles, and we asked all of them about, forget the games and him potentially playing in these games. Just the value of having a guy like that around an American Hockey League team at this time of year. And Schneeks made the point. He's those guys don't walk into these buildings. We don't have players of Gabe Landeskog's stature who have accomplished what he has played at the level that he has, captained a Stanley Cup team. You don't get them in AHL locker rooms very often. So when you do, it's immeasurable how much it means to just have him around. And I think you make a great point. Not only have him around, but at this time of year with a team that's in the position that the Eagles are.
And I think it's great for Landeskog mutually because he's a competitor to his core. He knows what's at stake for the Eagles, so he doesn't want to come and stink it up. He wants to genuinely help them. And that's where I look at the informed decision behind all of this, that he is aware of all of that information. And so making that call, I want to get in a game, he thinks he can help the Eagles with where he's at. And because of how competitive he is, I believe him.
No, I do too. And that's why I'm saying I already I think I know in my head what Gabe Landeskog's first shift back with the Avs will look something like if we get there. But I have a pretty good feeling that it's going to look something similar tomorrow. Like I think that because he's such a competitive guy, not only is he going to want to come out and have an impact and, try to leave a mark on, what he's hoping will be a win. I also do think he wants to come out tomorrow and send a message, make a statement to everyone who doubted him, who I've got a bookmark on my Twitter right now from someone yesterday telling someone else, not even me. They said, as much as I'd love it, I 110% guarantee you his career is done. That was yesterday. There are people doubting him right now today that he's going to even be able to make it to this game tomorrow. And I think if he gets in the game tomorrow, I think he's going to want to send a message that if you bet against me, you were wrong.
Logan O'Connor talked about it a little at morning skate, that not a person in that Avs room doubted him for a second, that there might be people on the outside who didn't believe this was possible, but not a single person who knows Gabriel Landeskog personally believed he couldn't come back from this.
Yeah. It's Megan, as we've said, I don't care if he plays in the games for the Eagles this weekend, if he plays for the Avs, maybe his career is done. What he has done, the work he has put in to even get to this point, I cannot figure out how anyone out there could be rooting against this guy. It's crazy to me. And I'm just, I don't know him that well. I covered the team for a few years before COVID, where I got to chat with Gabe a bit. And then, we were separated by the podiums and stuff like that. And he's been around. And so, the little that I do know Gabe and the conversations I've had with him and all that, Taylor McCarr said it today. He's the nicest guy in the world. He's just a great human being. And I'm just happy for him that he's been able to see it through to this point, whatever happens next. I'm just happy that that he's at that point, that he's even able to make the attempt.
Yeah, it's groundbreaking and it's incredibly inspirational for other athletes who might find themselves dealing with a similar injury down the line. He's blazing a completely new, unknown trail. And if anyone can do it, I have a lot of faith in Gabriel Landeskog.
Well, we just got this comment here in the chat. Doesn't matter. He's in the back nine. He's not going to make any impact. I find it equally as wild to me, Megan, when people speak in absolutes like this. Oh, he's not going to be any good. Oh, dang, you've been to the future and you saw that? That's wild. What else happens? Do the Avs win the cup? How deep does this run go? When can I book a vacation for this summer? We don't know. He might come out tomorrow, play 2 shifts and go, I can't do this, and then leave. He might come out tomorrow and play a game, and that'll be the first game he plays for the next 5 years. Play the rest of his
days.
What?
Sorry, it's the days that I was calculating earlier.
That's right. And it could be like nobody knows. And that's just the part that I find crazy about this. And whether it's the people who get in comment sections, they're like, he's coming back. I know it. No, you don't. He's never playing again. I guarantee. Nah, you can't back up that guarantee. We have no idea what we're going to see from Gabe Landeskog. And the fact that he's gotten back here proves what you were just talking about, that don't bet against Gabe. And definitely don't bet against him if he can make it back into the game of where his ceiling might be able to be.
No, obviously the injury plays a huge factor in the efficacy of the player, but we just watched 39-year-old Alex Ovechkin break Gretzky's goal record. So I'm not going to look at 32-year-old Landeskog and then there's 32-year-old Brock Nelson that we're expecting to be the second line center to lead this Avs team to a cup. And similarly, Charlie Coyle, 32, with like the 5th best active Ironman streak around the league. 32 doesn't mean you're done in hockey. You can still make an impact. I understand the context of the injury adds a layer to that, but I'm not going to pretend a player can't be effective and make a pretty big difference on an NHL team at 32 years old.
100%. And what he's going to bring in the locker room and just being back in the fight with the guys. Again, this is all under the assumption that he can make it back and he can stay, but that just is, to my point, a little bit more. we don't know. We don't know what's even going to happen tomorrow. And so another comment here. I think Gabe's presence on the bench and in the locker room will be more impactful than whatever skill he brings on the ice. That'll just be added benefit. And the other one we had up there, Landy was a point per game player before his knee injury because he stands in front of the net. He's going to take a few games to get his net front tips back, and he'll be a huge asset in the middle six on the wing.
I like Ken Garrett's comment. My biggest fear is that Gabe doesn't meet expectations and the team deflates, because I think the Avs have done a great job this season, especially to detach from the outcome of Gabe returning or not. I think they found an identity independent of that outcome that is really solid and really strong. I don't doubt that there would be disappointment, an emotional response to Gabe not being able to return to play. But I also think they have a strong identity away from Gabe that would only be made better with him, but exists without him too.
Well, and I think that him, if he's able to return to the lineup, I think that's going to be so galvanizing. And one of the things that he talks about in the documentary is that he hopes his story, because he says that, like, he gets that, he had the imposter syndrome when he started it, of like, does anybody care? Like, does anybody care about, and like, I understand where he's coming from. You know what I mean? Like, and feeling like, why do I think I'm so important that I need to make a documentary about myself? But he says in there, like, I've gotten to the point where I hope somebody out there can watch this, and whether they're trying to recover from an injury, an illness, they're going through something tough in a relationship, something tough financially, they're just battling in their life. He says, like, I hope they can watch this and see and know that, like, you can come out the other side, and you can, it doesn't have to keep you down. It doesn't have to define who you are. And that hopefully this can help someone. He said, if this can help one person push through, like, then that's done what I've hoped. And I think there's going to be a level of this that if Gabe Landeskog steps back on that ice, again, maybe he does have to come right back out. I don't think it's going to be deflating. It's going to be, look what this guy did to get back and give us one game, or however long it is. Look what he went through to come back and give that to us, give that to the fans, give that to the city. We have no excuse for not seeing this through with every last thing we have this season because of what Gabe went through to give us 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think if he comes back, I don't think there's anything that could happen that would make it deflating for the Avs.
Whether he comes back and sticks or doesn't, I think that they're going to want to run through a wall for Gabriel Landeskog.
I'm with you. Megan, we're hoping to get more clarity in the next, I know I've been checking, in the next little bit here. That's what I'll say. And look, folks, there's a lot flying around right now. There's a lot of stuff that we're hearing. There's a lot of stuff that other people are hearing, and there's just really none of it yet that we feel we can put out.
But all good stuff.
I'll put it this way. I feel pretty confident about the way this is all trending, but as has been the case with all of this, and as I've said a few times, until I see Gabe Landeskog skates on the ice, I'm going to remain flexible on this whole situation.
Remain flexible. I think everyone, including Gabe, has to remain flexible on this situation.
I agree. And here's the last thing I will say. Kind of fun. We're going to have a video up here pretty soon. Chloe and I did stop in at the Eagles team store as we were on our way out of Loveland. And there just might be something up there that a lot of people are going to want to get their grimy little mitts on.
Don't talk about them like that.
Don't talk about their mitts like that.
Grimy little mitts. Your pristine little mitts.
Your very clean mitts. Promenade Shops at Centera is where the Colorado Eagles team store is.
And they'll have some available for purchase at the game too.
Yep.
I think the thing I'm looking forward to most about this upcoming weekend is for Gabriel Landeskog to hear Blue Arena go insane over his return to play. I think the moment in the hallway ahead of the home opener broke my heart.
Yeah, that was tough.
And I want him to see firsthand just how much the fans in Colorado, no matter where you are in the state, love Landeskog, because I know there's going to be so many people who can't be physically there in Blue Arena rooting for him. I think that's going to be felt, but I think hearing how electric and loud Blue Arena can get is going to make this more real for him.
Well, and I really do. I think about if he makes it back to a game, game 3, let's say, of that round 1. And I imagine that Jared Bednar would put him in the starting lineup. They're not going to have to stop the game for like a ceremony like they did with Ovi, but that's going to be my guess is 60-second plus standing O from the Ball Arena crowd.
Going to hit 110 decibels easily, but I expect it to exceed that.
Yeah. Yes, we will be up at the Eagles game tomorrow. We're going to have the whole crew up there. So we will definitely be bringing you guys all the sights, all the sounds from Gabe Landeskog's expected return to pro hockey. Still waiting for the official announcement of when and where he'll be in the lineup. But right now, myself as well as Megan are anticipating that you will see number 92 in the lineup for the Colorado Eagles tomorrow. Any last thoughts on Gabe before we move on to talking about Trent Miner for the rest of the pod?
No.
Avs are taking on the Vancouver Canucks tonight. Avs are left without much to play for here, Megan. The Blues can't catch them. I think they could technically catch the Stars. Let's just see.
The Stars will clinch a top 2 finish with home ice advantage if they get at least 1 point versus the Jets or any result in Avs Canucks other than an Avalanche regulation win.
Yep. The Stars have 106 right now. That's exactly where the Avs could get. And the Stars would have to lose out for the Avs to end up with the tiebreakers and all that stuff. So Avs more or less locked into this spot. Vancouver has been officially eliminated from the postseason. This isn't a meaningless game. There's always a lot to play for and habits and things like that. But this is more or less as close to a meaningless regular season game as you can get, right?
I mean, you can always find meaning, right?
I'm with you.
I'm looking at a player like Netchis getting back into the lineup. This is a player who's a goal away from a new career high and has set new career highs in points and assists. And so he's on the doorstep of just exceeding his personal best. He's had a really good stretch here with Colorado post-trade that could be an exciting way to tie a bow on the decision from Carolina to part ways with him and just sort of carry that as a chip on his shoulder a little bit. Similarly, a Miles Wood, who was healthy scratched and in and out of the lineup at points, now getting more consistent opportunity in a third line role with Charlie Coyle, who is expected to play tonight despite feeling a bit under the weather in the last game. He just happened to have the shootout winner and no big deal. And I like what those two have been doing lately. I think they need to continue to build upon it because I look at how Miles Wood took his game to another level in the Winnipeg series last year. And I believe something like that could happen again in this year's playoffs with whatever line that he's on. You know, the injury has sort of opened up this opportunity for him to do the things he did best, and I see him leveraging his speed more to help that line drive play north. And I think Charlie Coyle has been really complimentary to Miles Wood to sort of rein in some of the unbridled chaos that he plays with too. Because when he came back, I didn't really like the Miles Wood that we got, but I've liked him a lot more lately. And I think there's a lot for him to prove, not so different from where Logan O'Connor was just a little bit ago when he was in and out of the lineup. And he's one of their most consistent players. So it's a testament to how competitive things are within the Avs lineup this time of year. So I think those players have something to prove tonight.
And then again, like it's not what the Avs end goal is. But it should be noted, they sit at 48 wins and Jared Bednar has referenced 50 wins several times this season. They've done it 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row. Are they looking for three? Or are they looking for 3 in a row or 4 in a row?
I think it will be their fourth. It's their fourth 100-point season. So I imagine it's going to be their fourth 50-win season. So, if so.
either way, like they sit at 48. They've got 3 games left to go. Yes, so this would be 4 consecutive 50-win seasons for the Avs, which is a no-joke benchmark. And then the season before that, they only ended up with 39 wins, but there's only 56 games in the season. And oh, by the way, they won the President's Trophy that year. I do think that there is I think the 50 wins means a little bit to them, and I think they are going to try to put their best foot forward to get there.
Yeah, I don't think from a pride standpoint, any athlete can just totally yeet the result. And I expect that to be true. And I just wanted to shout out, asked Jared Bednar this morning about where he's seen the biggest growth in this team. And I didn't want him to just say, well, we have new players, so things are different in a very literal sense. And he didn't, thankfully. He talked about how much this team has improved defensively. And I don't think it's something we've talked about a lot. And there's still more games left in the season to talk about it. But they are the 5th best team at 5v5 in terms of allowing the fewest shot attempts against and scoring chances against. 6th best team in the league. And you look at the teams that are ahead of them in terms of being strong defensively. And you've got Carolina, Florida, LA, Washington, Florida, Carolina, LA, Utah, and Vancouver for the scoring chances against. There's some pretty good teams that have finished in the top 5 in terms of allowing very few scoring opportunities against. And I think for the Avs to finish off the year in that place while simultaneously being the 4th best team in terms of goals for, and having the 3rd best possession in the league at 5v5, they've really rounded out how they play hockey. They've always been an offensive team, but they've really locked it down defensively since the trades, especially. Those players have helped in a big way. And even though we're not looking at the complete lineup right now, which you have to understand that even this last game wasn't maybe the result. Like, the result was fine, but you probably hoped it didn't end up in a shootout.
Right.
I think we're just looking at a depleted Avs lineup. We haven't even really seen them at full strength much post-deadline, but the glimpses that we've seen of it have been very good, and I think those numbers reflect how well balanced the Avs are going into the postseason.
Well, and I think especially in these last couple of weeks where the Avs have been more or less locked in, I do wonder how much of this is quietly load management behind the scenes. Like, how many of these players who we have seen be out with injuries the last few weeks would be playing if it was playoffs type thing. And yeah, you know, it's been hard for them to get emotionally invested, which I actually think makes perfect sense. But I like the way you said it. I don't think any pro athlete would ever just yeet the result.
No, because they have the 2nd most comeback wins in the league this season. 23 comeback wins. I think a few of those have probably come in just the last 10 stretch that we're looking at. But you know what that means? That's a team that's like, all right, well, we don't want to lose. Like, we're not trying that hard to win, but we don't want to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that is what makes the Avs kind of a sleeping giant. I don't know if people are still sleeping on the Avs or not. That's just my personal feel.
I think they are.
But this is a team that has proven more times than not, 2nd best in the league, that they can find a way to win. Even if they start from a place of deficit, falling behind in a little bit of ways, they can take the reins and pull the game back in their favor. And that's a strong quality in a playoff team.
Talk about comeback wins. Let's just park 90 seconds.
Trent Miner.
To talk about this Dallas Stars collapse. Sorry, someone just put it in the chat. 3 nights ago, and some Vancouver Canucks. Megan, I've never seen anything like it. I've watched a lot of hockey for a lot of years. I have never seen a team put in an empty netter to go up 5-2 and with 60 seconds on the clock hold a 3-goal lead and go on to lose that game. I've just never seen anything like it. Don't know if there's much even to discuss about it. I just could not believe my eyes.
Western Michigan rallied from a 3-goal deficit to beat DU in the NCHC frozen face-off. So it is a rematch tonight against them, but I have seen it happen before. That was really disappointing.
They scored 3 goals in 1 minute?
No, not in a minute.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay,
just overcame a 3-goal deficit.
All right. I was like, holy shit, that is crazy.
I'm so sorry. That was super misleading.
No, you're good.
But no, I haven't seen anything like that.
Quite like that.
That is a total collapse. And honestly, like, we've seen the Avs give up 2 goals.
For sure. We've seen third period collapses.
But nothing quite like that from a Vancouver team that had more to play for in that moment, but certainly has had their own cultural woes this season. So really interesting.
The craziest part about all of it to me the Canucks weren't even that excited. I know that had they lost that game, they would have been eliminated from playoff contention. So I understand that they were kind of being, realistic with what was happening. But I was like, I did think about the culture. So I was like, that's not a locker room that likes hanging out together. That's a really cool moment, whether you're making the playoffs or not. Like, that was crazy what you just did. And for them to like not even really care, I think it was just crazy.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the weekend or Trent Miner first?
The weekend. I'm saving the best for last.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then the weekend was what was on your list, right?
Honestly, barely. I feel like we've kind of covered what to expect from the Avs in the final 3 games of the season. They've got the California road trip coming up after this, and I'm expecting it to get weirder from here. No Nathan MacKinnon tonight. All right, that's already getting a little bit weird. Like Jonathan Drouin pushing to return, so I expect to see him on that California road trip, get in a game. Josh Manson still a little up in the air. Like there's a possibility maybe he gets in the final game
Anaheim.
on that Sunday. Yeah. But still not totally sure of that. Obviously, Lindgren didn't get an update on if it's a day-to-day kind of thing. It feels like it's still just a day-to-day thing. So you might be looking at no Manson, no Lindgren, no Nathan MacKinnon. It's feeling a little bit weird, like maybe a Jonathan Drouin added to that mix. So hopefully Netchus and Girard stick in the lineup after tonight and we don't continue to see more players come out. But if you do, we might be looking at kind of like the Cup season when they closed out the year with a very Colorado Eagles looking lineup.
Yeah. And I'm expecting that last game in Anaheim would be where they slip in a couple, Drouin and Manson, these guys who haven't played in a while. Well, let's get them in one last game, limit their minutes, and then let's get out of here. I actually do think I think it's a good trip for them to end the season on, though, because you've got a week off. For as weird and silly as this might get this weekend with who's in and who's out, like you have a week off. So you know that Jared Bednar is going to be stressing details and honing the game just right and good habits, work ethic, things like that. You know that he's going to be making sure that even though there's not a ton to play for, that his team's going to be dialed in.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the pride component matters a lot at the end of the year. And so the process matters too. Like if you're seeing the kinds of mistakes that are born from laziness, you'll probably feel a little bit sad and frustrated, especially from the players who have more to prove at this time of year.
Yep. Okay, since we're saving the best for last, let's touch. Oh!
It's perfect timing. We got a super chat from Vaguely Sober. This is now a Trent Miner fan podcast.
Only Trent's. It is a Trent Miner podcast. I was going to check in on the DU game real quick, but
he actually updated in the chat. It was still 0-0.
Yep, and they're not off to a great start. So,
I mean, they're just losing the shots battle. It's not great for Monty's process or DC's process, but they can overcome it. Monty introduced the process.
Oh, okay.
DC
all right.
has continued on the legacy of
I was like, okay.
The process spelled
Jim
incorrectly.
Montgomery stalker over here. No, let's talk about him. The man himself, Trent Miner. You guys did touch on it on Pucks and Prosecco that Budweiser put out the list of here's the 28 goalies who faced Alex Ovechkin before he broke the record, who never gave up a goal against him. It was in Trent Miner's NHL debut. He goes in relief, makes one save on the Great 8, and he is now part of an exclusive club. And we weren't sure if he was getting a beer can. We've now confirmed that he is. He hasn't received it yet, but it is in the mail, man.
Yay! Trent Miner.
Good for Trent Miner. We talked to him today. So that interview is up on Gorilla Sports. You can go check it out. We asked him all about it. He said it's a cool memento to have. And I said, like, is that something that you'll appreciate even more 5-10 years from now? He's like, oh, I'll keep it forever. Like that'll always be something that I have that's on the shelf and, in the box and all that stuff. And I don't know if you've looked at them. All the cans are actually individually personalized with how many shots that you saw, how many saves you made, your name, and I believe it's got the date of the games that you played him. And it's just a really cool thing for a guy who has, you and I talked about him when he got his initial call up and made his debut of like, hey, here's a guy who has toiled around in the ECHL, been called up to the American League a few times, has never really gotten, the chance to take that next step. Not only is he taking the next step, he's kind of, taken the net by the horns a bit there and has solidified himself as a legitimate AHL goaltender. And to not only earn the call up, but then to end up kind of by happenstance being a part of this really cool moment. I just think it's a great feel-good story for Trent Miner.
It is, because in addition to coming in relief, it adds that layer. Then maybe it is just one shot against, but it was your NHL debut and you were thrown in cold. So that carries a little more weight in my eyes.
Well, and it's a game you were never supposed to be in, you were never supposed to be in that game. And you can, I mean, like, if it weren't for injuries.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Like, Trent Miner, don't listen to this part.
This is a Trent Miner fan cast. What are you talking about? No. I just, but like, to suddenly, because of a set of, a couple different circumstances, to find yourself in that moment. And then look, yeah, it was only one shot, but he's the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game. It could have very easily blown by Trent Miner.
Did he remember the shot specifically?
He said that it wasn't one of those things that he like thought about it in the moment, like I just made a save on Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah.
But he did. He remembers because
I wanted to know more information. Like, what was it? Where was he from? Was it a wrister from the circle? Like, what were we talking about? Was it battling for a rebound and just kind of?
So it was a wrister from the circle. I actually remember it pretty clearly.
Perfect.
Because you and Chloe remember how I felt going into that game. I wanted to see an Alex Ovechkin goal. And I actually...
Oh my God, I remember this now, because I remember thinking...
Because he got a clean look and Trent had to make like a good save on it.
Yes, he did.
And you were giving me a hard time because even though this is a Trent Miner fan podcast, I was watching because Ovi got a clean look and I was like, oh, here we go. And he made the save. And so...
Because of course he did.
Of course he did. He wouldn't have his own podcast if he didn't. But again, he did say like it wasn't something that
I'm not sure.
What?
Oh yeah, you wanted him to put 3 past Trent Miner.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be Trent Miner, wasn't it? Was it Georgie to start that game? It was? Okay, yeah. See?
Who do you think was in?
I felt like my odds were pretty good. But he did say like, no, it wasn't something in the moment. I was like, oh man, I just made a save on Alex Ovechkin, but that as the record fell and he definitely remembers making the save.
That's really cool. I'm glad I remember him making the save now because I didn't previously. And it carries more weight now. Did you know he also has his pilot's license like Frankie?
I believe I remember hearing that he was pursuing it. But I did not know that he had it. Good for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, we have a good track record with goalies who fly.
What was I about to? Oh yeah, I was going to look up the Budweiser can. I was because the other thing too, Megan, is there's not a lot of like big names on that list. Like Trent Miner's name does not stick out on that list of like, oh, well, he was just the backup for that game. Like that list is made up of a lot of guys that are very similar to Trent Miner.
In what way?
They 1 shot, 2 shots against, like not a lot of games. Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder how many games Dostal has played against OV because he had 3 shots against stopped. But I imagine he's seen a little more OV.
Do you know who has the most saves?
No.
Vitek Vanacek made 19 saves on Alex Ovechkin without giving up a shot.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
For Vitek Vanacek.
Especially because he's had a little bit of a rough go the last couple of years. And so it's nice to find yourself on that list and to have the most. All right. Where is it? Okay. Do you care if I read this whole list?
No.
Mike Condon, Mathieu Guérin, Manny Legacy, Manny Fernandez. Interesting, 2 Mannys. Manny Fernandez, Rob Zepp, Michael Neuwirth, Eric Erzberg, Jocelyn Thibault, Jeff Zatkoff, Curtis Joseph, David Abisher. Love that one. Braden Holtby, Garrett Sparks, Vitek Vanacek, Akira Schmid, Kevin Lankinen, Yoel Blomqvist, Yoel Hofer, Anthony Stolars, Eric Shalgren, Devin Levi, Jean-Francois Berube, Arvid Soderblom, Colin D'Elia, Trent Miner, Jacob Dubis, Joey Decord, and Lucas Dostal.
Jakob Dobis.
Dobis. Fuck. Sorry. He's the other one on the list with 1 save on Ovechkin.
Perfect. I love them all.
That's it. That is all of the goalies that face Alex Ovechkin pre-record and never gave up a goal. One of the other things Trent Miner called out today is the list only being 28 names long is like, that's crazy. Like, he's like, you'd think that the average player would face hundreds of goalies without scoring on them.
Yeah.
28 over Ovechkin's 20-plus year career, 895 goals. 28 goalies have gotten the better of him when played.
Have gotten out unscathed.
Seriously, that is unbelievable. And I thought that was a really fun point that Trent made
I'm a little
today.
sad for Sorokin because, if it just had been a different goalie, it would have just been, all right, well, he scored on that goalie before, no big deal. And I just feel a little sad for him.
He missed out on the beer can by 1 goal.
Yeah.
By 1 goal. Megan, what else you got for today?
Frozen 4, just real quick. It's happening right now. DU is the underdog in this game against Western Michigan, and it is a little bit of a rematch from the NCHC Frozen face-off tournament where the DU Pioneers gave up a 3-goal lead and lost 4-3 in double overtime. So they have something to prove against a very good Western Michigan team.
You probably know this off the top of your head. There's an Eagles player coming off the ice today I did not recognize. Tall guy, like taller than most, who was cheering for Western Michigan.
Jason Poland was their former captain.
Wasn't him.
But it probably wasn't him. Okay, because you would have recognized him.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. I don't know. He was in green. I'll bet you we could go. Chloe and I will go through a picture and find
who
it was. But there was someone who was like, let's go Michigan, Western Michigan, Western Michigan. And I was like, who is this guy? Who will you be?
Not him. In green. I won't spend time on air trying to figure this out, but it's like a little game for me, a little trivia game.
We're going to have you guys covered all weekend. We'll be up there tomorrow up in Loveland. We'll be up there Saturday in Loveland. And then I will be in LA and Anaheim to help round out the Avs season. And then me, Megan, Mark are on our way to Dallas next weekend. Assuming it's Dallas. Next weekend. We've got you guys covered the rest of the way. This is it. Best time of year. Make sure you guys are staying locked in. Jesse Montano _ on Twitter, Meg Angley on Twitter, Gorilla Sports on Twitter. All the latest breaking news and all the updates on everything Gabe Landeskog, Colorado Eagles, and Colorado Avalanche will be coming your way this weekend. So make sure you guys are staying dialed in as the news is going to be fast and furious this weekend. Things are going to move quickly. With that, we're out of here for today. We'll be back at it tomorrow with another show. So in addition to all the coverage we'll be bringing you guys from morning skate with Eagles and practice with Avs and all that tomorrow, we will have another pod unpacking all of it. I'm Jesse. She's Megan. We got Chloe behind the glass today. That's going to do it. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.